We will now see a real-life example of where facade pattern will be useful. I will add a new project. We'll set this as the startup project. And let me tell you what we are going to do here. Standard C++ does not provide any support for writing colored text onto the console. And that is understood because different operating systems will have different ways of printing colored text on the console. And it may also be possible that some operating systems may not have that support. Windows operating system has a rich set of APIs, and it also includes APIs that allow you to write colored text on the console. And this is very useful in my training programs because I can highlight some parts of the output with colored text. And that helps me in explaining the concepts to my students. Let's first see how you can write colored text onto the console using Windows APIs. We will need the windows.h header file. And the first thing we have to do is we have to get the handle to the console. So we'll create a handle object, and we will get the handle by calling get standard handle API. And here we will pass this macro, and this will cause get standard handle to return an output handle to the console. That will allow us to write into the console. Then to change the color of the text on the console, we have to use this API set console text attribute. This is the only way through which we can colorize the text on the console. The first parameter is the handle to the console, and the second parameter is the color that you want to be applied to the text. Let's use the red color. Note that you can color both the foreground and the background of the text, but we will only use the foreground colors. Note that these colors are defined as macros. So here I'm using the macro foreground underscore red. Now after this, anything that is written to the console will have red color. So you can use printf or cout. But to maintain consistency with the usage of Windows API, I'm going to use the API write console A. Here I'm using the ANSI version of this API. First argument is handle to the console, and then the text that you want to display. Let's create a string object here. And here you need to pass the raw string. So we will use c_str function. Then the next argument will be the number of characters that we want to write. So we will use length here. And then you need to pass an argument that will hold the number of characters that have been written onto the console. So we have to create a variable of type dword. And finally, the last parameter is reserved, so we can pass null pointer there. Note that write console A is a C API, but you can still pass C++ null pointer to it rather than null macro. That's it, we are done. Now everything that we write onto the console will be written in foreground red color. This will also apply to cout and printf. Let's run. And you can see the color was also applied to this text that was printed by Visual Studio. So that's why after we change the attributes of the console, before the program exits, we should restore those attributes. So we will have to store the attributes in this structure called console screen buffer info. And then we will call this API get console screen buffer info. We'll pass the handle of the console and this CS info structure. If get console buffer info fails to get the buffer information, then it will return false. So we should then print an error here. And we'll return. And after we are done printing the text with the required color, we should set this console information back into the console. We'll use set console text attribute, pass the console handle, and from this structure we will use this field called W attributes. That's it. Now before we run, let's take these statements and put them here. You can see the text attribute has not been applied to this text. So that's why before we exit the program, we should restore the text attributes. That's all for now. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.